everyone, and welcome to Cherries Red Army and another end of season video tier maker coming your way. Thank you to Aaron joining me on another video. How are you?
Very good, Kirk. Always happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Steve, lovely top you're wearing there. Good to see you again on another end of season video.
Yeah, lovely to be here, mate. I think this was one from the Premier League. I seem to remember currently where we are now.
Our Premier League. As always, if you're joining us for the first time, please subscribe to Cherries Red Army. We might be on 1,000 subscribers once this is aired, and this is hopefully another interactive chat video for you. Come to that in just a moment. But subscribe if you're new to Cherries Red Army as we go into the Premier League. Also hit the like button. Hit it now. Hit it early on or at some point in this video. It really does help with the popularity on YouTube. Interactive chat is open then. There's an opportunity for you to get involved this evening. We're going to talk about the squad. We're going to look at it, potentially what it will look like on the opening day of the season. If you weren't able to join us live, absolutely fine. Thank you for checking out this video and let us know your thoughts on any part of this video in the comments below. So in this, it's going to be a tier maker, a tier list. It's Parker's potential squad. What we're going to do, Aaron and Steve, we're going to bring up that tier maker in a moment. We're going to look at the squad as it is right now. And as you can see, there is category A, starting 11. B is squad player. C is depart club. D is loan out. And E is future prospect. What we're trying to do here is predict what Scott Parker will do for the opening day of the season. So if you think a player will be in that starting 11, whoever we're playing against, he's going to go into starting 11. If you think he'll be part of the squad, be part of the squad. If you think that player will still be at the club, but maybe will be loaned out, he goes into that tier. Or if he's not going to be part of the club, maybe an end of contract, maybe an end of loan and we won't re-sign. And we're going to basically work out and summarise at the end what it will look like and what transfer business Scott Parker might do in the summer. Aaron, does that sort of cover everything?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Steve, same?
Yeah, it's clear as mud, mate. Yep.
Just wanted to get a disclaimer out there. Not necessarily what we would do or what we're going to do. It's more what we think Scott Parker and the club will do. Straight over to the tier maker then. And Mark Travers was given to Aaron last time. So the first player coming in with a banner down the bottom to give you some information about that player to Steve is Mark Travers. Over to you, Steve.
Well, for me, this is starting 11. I mean, he's earned his place 100% for his performance throughout this championship winning season. So I think this is a pretty easy one to start, as it was for Aaron the other night. There's no reason. I mean, he's stepped up massively. I mean, we all thought he might be a bench warmer this season gone, but he's proven time and time again that he can be a match winner, and he's going to face a lot of action this coming season. So he certainly showed he can deal with the shots and the he can stand up to it when he's needed to. So I would put him in starting 11.
Going straight in. Starting 11, Mark Travers going to need you to be very, very good next season. Very confident you'll have a good season. So straight at the top, straight as before on the last video. Aaron, coming to you then, going to bring a couple of goalkeepers into play. Freddie Woodman, end of loan, May 2022. Is he going to still be at the club?
It's a difficult one because he's obviously someone Scott Parker's rated for some time by all accounts, wanting to get him in at the beginning of last season. Obviously, there was a COVID situation at Newcastle and he got him in as soon as he could in January. But as Steve's already alluded to, Mark Travers' form was unbelievable, 10 out of 10. So he didn't get a look in apart from that one game against Bournemouth. So it's a difficult one because quite clearly we do need a decent backup goalkeeper, or, if Travers was to get injured, then someone who's more than capable of playing in the Premier League. So at the same time, Newcastle, Eddie himself was saying he was disappointed naturally that Freddie didn't get the game time that he perhaps wanted him to get, but he could understand why. So I actually think that it will be that he is out of the squad. He will turn back to Newcastle. I think we will end up getting another goalkeeper of some description.
Freddie Woodman, depart club. He fills that first space in category C. You can join in the interactive chat. You can simply put an A, B, C, D, E to make life a bit easier for you if you'd like to. But please do interact just like you did on that previous tier list video. I'll go with the next goalkeeper, who is Will Dennis. A great lad. always warms up with the players at Dean Court before home games. I expect him to potentially go out on loan. Maybe. I think he only had one FA Cup appearance last season, got a contract until June 2023. And I expect Will Dennis to maybe have a loan out, just like Aaron Ramsdale did. Aaron Ramsdale, we call Aaron's errands nowadays. So Aaron Ramsdale and Mark Travers as well. So the goalkeepers are in, a loan out for Will Dennis. Coming to you then, Steve, for Gary Cahill.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I've heard a few little splutterings that if he played a certain amount of games, there might be a trigger in his contract. I can't personally see him getting an extension. I've also heard that he may be sort of looking at going into coaching as well. I've heard he's been doing a bit of work with the under-23s. So just for the age of that he is, I know he's experienced and he's played, hundreds of Premier League games, and that could be vital. But I just think, looking at him this season, he did get caught out for pace, and that was, it's a shame because he's a massive experience, massive figure. But I think the club will let him go. I think, or maybe let him go on a sideways trajectory into the coaching, maybe. But I think he will depart the club, and he won't be a player next season.
Gary Cahill joins Freddie Woodman in depart club, and I agree with you there. And also an option may be put on the table for coaching. But the next player in line going down the list at the moment is Robbie Brady for you, Aaron. Robbie Brady.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't see a huge amount of him. His contract is up by all accounts at the end of this next month. There's no doubting he has got that quality. We saw it, unfortunately, in small amounts, but we saw it against Swansea. The delivery he's got Premier League experience as well, but again, a lack of pace. I'm not entirely sure where his best is. Used him kind of as an emergency left back. He's obviously used to playing a bit further forward, but with other options we've got and potentially bringing in, I don't think he's going to be retained. As I said, he has got the experience, but yeah, I don't think so. I think with a big squad and wanting to bring players in, he will be departing the club.
Another one to join the depart club, and we are currently using the information off the internet. It's reliable, but we've got those contract information in the banner, and we do think that Robbie Brady's contract ends this month in May, and Aaron thinks that he'll depart the club, maybe for a new club somewhere else. Next player on the list then, Steve, is Smudge. Played 300 appearances now for Bournemouth and some. Adam Smith, he's going to be looking forward to another Premier League season, you think?
Yeah, I hope so, and I think the club would want to retain someone with his experience. He's performed in the Premier League for what was it, 5 seasons, and he knows what it's all about. And looking at the rest of our team, there's not a lot of experience within that, especially at the defence, if you include the goalkeeper and the other back 4 members. So I would be very surprised if he wasn't retained, and for me, probably would be starting 11.
Ooh. Straight in there for Adam Smith, starting 11 alongside Mark Travers. If you disagree at any point, Aaron, let me know and I'll also jump in. But going with the flow at the moment, happy with that. Next player in line down on our tier maker is Lloyd Kelly, our captain, who finished the season very, very well. And the future looks bright, would you say, Aaron?
Yeah, for sure. He's had his moments. I think we've all criticise certain parts of his game, but he's developing. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's a captain. He's still very, very young, still learning his trade at centre back, but he's got all the attributes for the Premier League, most notably his pace, which is so crucial. I think we're going to talk about that time and time again with other players. His pace, as I said, his reading of the game, his recoveries, his distribution at times can be improved, his awareness, but for me, a shoe-in to be in the starting 11 at the start of the season.
I'll let you off on this one, Steve. I thought I'd give Aaron Lloyd Kelly.
People don't want to hear me talk about it anymore.
Captain Kelly alongside Adam Smith and Mark Travers at the top in the starting 11. Next player, interesting player. First interesting one, really, because his deal sort of ends very, very soon, Steve, and that's Nat Phillips. We're hearing that potentially Bournemouth are interested in a permanent deal or another loan deal. I think Phillips has enjoyed himself from what I've seen and the information he's given us in the media. So, Nat Phillips, on the basis, do you think we'll sign him, first of all?
I think if we're allowed to, I think we will do. Whether that be permanently or another loan deal for another season, I think we'd be daft not to. He's got some Premier League experience, Champions League experience, and he's been around Premier League players for a long time, training with them, working under one of the best managers in the world. So, obviously, I was talking about Scott Parker then. So, I think if we've got the option, the club would be silly not to, because he's shown what he can do. He's shown he's a decent centre back. So yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then I would keep that partnership together moving forward and put him as a starting 11.
You've answered my next question. Would he be alongside Lloyd Kelly then on the opening day of the season in the Premier League if he re-signs for the club? Steve thinks he will. Do you agree? Let us know in the chat. Interactive chat is open. Nat Phillips at the top as well. Let's go to another player then, Aaron. Let's just go for Jack Stacy. Now, a player that always gives his all. He's had a few mistakes in him, as we've spoken about in previous videos. I thought he stood up and was counted when we had no other right backs. Doesn't seem to look like he's part of the plans for Scott Parker. You never know in this game. What do you think, Jack Stacy? Will he be part of this squad come opening day of the season?
Again, another difficult one, isn't it? Because he's obviously younger than Smudge, got a lot more years left in him. He has played at the Premier League. He's played a couple of seasons for us in the Premier League, and with Adam Smith's injury record, was called upon more often than not. We obviously know that Ethan Laird came in, but we'll come on to discuss him in a bit. But maybe Scott Parker's looking for a bit more pace, a bit more agility going forward. And Jack, as we spoke about in the last piece we did, is prone to an odd error or two. I'm a big fan of Jack Stacy, but if we're going on what Scott Parker's probably thinking here, it wouldn't surprise me if he was to depart the club to be a regular in a top championship team. I would say it is contingent on us obviously buying another fullback, because Adam Smith, as much as I agree with Steve, could easily be in the first 11, is prone to injury, is also aging slightly, and might not have the pace. So, but I'm going to be saying that Jack is, in my opinion, under Scott, going to depart the club.
Show that over to Tier Maker in a moment. Steve, only 1 year left on his contract, I think. What sort of money do you think we'd get for Jack Stacy?
Well, if that's the case, probably not a great deal, but I'm sure there'd be very many suitors for him, because he is a decent fullback. I mean, we said time and time again, we've probably got the best two right backs in the division this season, and unfortunately, I think just through Adam Smith's experience and his reliability when he's there, he's just missed out when Smudge has been fit, and I think I've noticed with Jack, he's not looked very happy when I've seen him out and around the grounds afterwards. He doesn't look, he's like he's enjoying his time, as he probably wouldn't be when you're being left out as much as he has been. So it's a shame, but I think I agree with Aaron. I think he will be let go of the club and be, free to go and play his trade somewhere else.
I think everyone knows I feel a bit sorry for Jack Stacy. I do really like him as a player. I think he'll struggle to get in this potential squad when it's filled up in the Premier League. So it's hard to disagree, but a great lad. Never know. He might end up back at Luton, depending on where they're playing, because that's where he came from.
Possible.
But we're not getting into that. Right. No. I keep missing myself out. I did this last time. So I'm going to bring myself in for a player. Really easy one, though. Won't take too long. Leif Davis, age 22, end of loan, May 22. Already seen probably in the news that we're unlikely to exercise a new deal for him. I think he had some really good moments, not necessarily at the start against Swansea, but he did well in the last 70 minutes, got an assist. And I think there's something more behind that. I think that maybe if he played too many games, there might be a deal that Bournemouth had to agree to. I don't really know. It might have been an option, but I just think that maybe we're setting our sights for something else other than Leif Davis as another left-back option, because we're going to talk about another left-back in a moment. So Leif Davis, for me, will depart the club and go back to Leeds, who might be in the Premier League Championship next season, shall I say. Right, another interesting player for you, Steve, coming back to you, is Ethan Laird. I'm not sure if there's another option to extend his deal by a year. I've heard that quite a few times, but not convinced. Only 20 though, going to give that to him. Will he be part of this squad potentially on opening day of the season?
Yeah, this is a really tricky one for me because I mean, like you've just pointed out, we didn't really see enough of him. He was very hyped, and we were expecting good things, but for whatever reason, he never got a run of games under Scott. There's a lot of debating with Man United whether we can reloan him or sign him. I'm presuming, but if we could, I suppose he's young enough and he's got potential there. And if we can be coached and brought on by Parker, then he might see that as a good backup option. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and go for yes. We will exercise. Well, we will have him here in some way, shape, or form. I think in the squad. Yeah.
He enters the first player in the squad. Quickly though, Aaron, I think, and we've discussed this as friends, as we do, as we chat football, I think there's better fullback options that are of a similar age and maybe of a similar deal potentially out there, better than Ethan Laird. And I'm not being disrespectful there, but there are some good young fullbacks that could potentially play backup to Adam Smith.
Yeah, and as I said before, may not even play backup. He might look for someone with more pace and a bit more agility and going forward, which we know Adam Smith isn't his forte these days. But I do potentially agree with Steve. He looked like a really big character. Looked like someone who was very much involved and really kind of loving it. So it's difficult to tell on those videos, but and I don't think we've seen the best of him. So I think potentially, said we if he was to stay, we could see the best of him. So yeah, there are obviously clearly other options, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we do see him as part of the squad, and I'd be quite happy about that.
Ethan Laird, squad player in this tier list. Do you agree? Let us know in the interactive chat. Make sure you're getting involved. Just open that little chat box and you'll be able to go category A, category B, interact with people, chat with the fans, get involved, because this is your opportunity on these type of videos. They're really, really fun to get involved with. Let's rattle through a couple of players that shouldn't take too long then, Aaron. Let's go to James Hill, England under 20 on a long deal. June 26 is his contract. Only one appearance. I think he came off the bench when Gary Cahill got sent off at Barnsley. James Hill, though, for the future and was potentially signed in case we had another season in the Championship.
Yeah, for sure. One for the future. I'm pretty sure he'll be loaned out, hopefully to a Championship club, and get some good game time. As we'll come on to, we might not have a huge amount of centre backs, but even saying that, I'm sure he's probably not ready for the Premier League. So loaned out.
Loaned out for James Hill, straight in there alongside Will Dennis. Steve, another one that's probably going to be a similar theme. I know you've got a lot of time for this player as well, and that's Zeno Ibsen Rossi. Was loaned out in the end, had a good start of the season when we needed some players on the pitch. Got an assist at Birmingham, I think you said. Ibsen Rossi, though, I mean, a deal I think he's got until end of contract. Haven't got it in there. I'm not sure what the contract is. Haven't filled that space. But yeah, Ibsen Rossi.
You kind of like to put him in the same category as James Hill. He's probably not Premier League ready. Didn't put a foot wrong when he played, really. Well, apart from the Coventry game where I thought he had a bit of a torrid time. But apart from that, he showed some good signs. I don't know how he's got on at Dundee this season, but I'd imagine we'll see that. Like Aaron's just said, he'll probably go out to a Championship side, if not to Scottish League again. But yeah, he's probably not Premier League ready just yet.
Loaned out.
Yeah.
A loan out for Ibsen Rossi, but a good lad and a great talent potentially for the future. Right, let's get stuck into some really important players potentially. One is, I'm going to give you Chris Mepham, Aaron, a player that's got a deal until 2023. A lot of players, we'll talk about this at the end, out of contract in 1 year's time. I thought he did okay this season when he was called upon. I can remember he played really well at Hull City as well in that ball 0-0. But I just wonder where Chris Mepham thinks his career is right now.
Well, that's a big part of it. I mean, this is the issue, isn't it? Because it's very easy to say he should be part of the squad. He's a Welsh international. Again, he's played in the Premier League before. Yes, he has made mistakes, but he's growing, he's young, and he's developing, and he's only going to improve, in my opinion. And someone that Eddie certainly sought out for a long, long time. And this season really didn't let us down whenever he played. So it's, again, we don't want to leave ourselves too short. We haven't signed Nat Phillips yet, obviously, and on the basis that Gary Cahill, as we've already said, is going to be released, James Hill's going to be out on loan. Are we going to be able to pick up backup centre backs any better or much better than Chris Mepham? So that's the question. So I do feel for him, and I would like to see him stay as part of the squad, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, we can't get rid of everyone and then start from scratch, and so it's difficult. So this is the first one where I'm really torn between two categories, and I might need a bit of help here, because I can see him being part of the squad, and perhaps he should. As I said, he's an international, and as a backup centre back, whether he's happy or not, he's still under contract. If we were to get rid of him, then, as I said, who would we bring in as a backup potentially that would be any better?
Okay, Steve. Chris Mepham, I think if Scott Parker had the option to keep Chris Mepham and Chris Mepham was happy to stay, we've got to keep in mind that he's still only 24. We've only got a 1-year contract left on him at the moment, so we need to think about that from a financial point of view. I get the feeling, though, Steve, Chris Mepham might engineer a deal away just to get more game time.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I just think with his international career, big tournaments coming up, he needs to play football. Basically, that's a be all and end all. And if he's not good, I think you're right. I think if Scott wanted it, I think Scott would keep him. I think if he wanted to stay, it would be great for everybody. But I just don't think he does want to stay. And that's not, I think, from he's not happy. It's just from with the squad and the surroundings. It's just he's not getting game time, and and he will be back up again. That's the problem. You're just going to move on to be back up again. It's a shame because, like you said, he is a decent player. He's very young. He's still got developing to do. So he could go somewhere else and really flourish, and really, we could look back on this in a couple of years and go, geez, wish we kept him, or wish we could give him more game time, because he's turned out to be a real player. But I just think for the sake of his own career, he'll try and engineer a move, like you say.
I think he'll depart the club, Aaron. Should we put him into part of the club?
I don't disagree with that. And we're also assuming that Scott's going to stay with 4 at the back. He might go to 3 centre backs, which would potentially bring more options. But yeah, look, I think you're probably right with that.
We're not looking to have a big squad at this current rate that we're going at, guys. Just thought I'd let you know that. So
maybe at the end we could move around towards the end. We can see if we want to change any opinions. Yeah.
Let's kick on, because we need some players. We need at least 11 on the pitch for opening day against whoever we're playing. Right, this should be an easy one, Steve. The interesting question, will he start for that first Premier League game if he's fit? And that's Jordan Samora. Contract, I think, extended by a year. Club had the option. I'm sure they'll be looking at another deal, a longer deal. But someone who scored 3 goals, 1 assist, had very good impact down that left-hand side. Jordan Samora, this is an interesting one, Steve.
I think it's an easy one, actually. I think he massively deserves his chance in the Premier League. And from his, he's come in, what we thought we were going to get from him, what we actually got were polar opposites. We thought he was going to be a fringe player, making a few cup appearances, maybe helping out here and there. But he's come and hit the ground running. He's an international again. He went off to the African Cup of Nations, which people forget about, and performed over there. So there's masses of potential. Again, really, really young. He can only get better. I mean, I'll be surprised if we don't have some potential suitors come in for him. That's the worry. But I think all day long, if he's at the club and no one has come over for him, he's a definite starter for me.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Straight in there for starting 11. We have a goalkeeper.
Right, that's the back 4 done.
Absolutely. Let's build the rest of the team. Right. Give myself a go, shall we? I think this lad is a great player and got lots of potential. Steve loves him. We all love him. Iniesta, Gavin Kilkenny, got a contract until 2025, played 14 games. Feels like he played more than that, Games started 13. And he played very well in that last game of the season against Millwall, considering he barely played any football since Middlesbrough. Before that, I think maybe bits here, bits there. I think Kilkenny will go out on loan, though, guys. I don't know if you disagree or agree with that. I think we'll definitely keep him part of the club. Maybe a deal to bring him back if we need him. But I see Gavin Kilkenny going out on loan.
Yeah, I think so. I think if we're in a championship for another season, then no. But again, dependent on other potential decisions, I think. I just think he will go out on loan, maybe even for half a season.
maybe just for his own game time, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, there is a case to say that he could stick around and be in the squad as backup for Lewis Cook. It's whether he's Premier League ready. I don't know if he's necessarily just quite there just yet. I'm not saying he hasn't got the potential, because I think he has. But I don't think we've really seen him at all. He didn't play in the Premier League before. I think he made a couple of sort of League Cup appearances. So yeah, I tend to agree. If I was going to put my house on it, I'd suggest he probably would go out on a loan deal.
Gavin Kilkenny in the tier list goes into potentially loaned out, as we build this tier list for a potential Parker squad for the Premier League. Let's go in for our favourite Colombian. Very pleased, as we know, Aaron. Jefferson Lerma got a deal until June 23. Premier League has probably saved us. We'll probably keep him for longer than that. I'm hoping we'll look at a new deal for him. But Jefferson Lerma, I'm sure, would love to stay. I always get the feeling he loves Bournemouth and he loves the club.
Yeah, I'm glad you give me an easy one here. Some of the ones coming up. But yeah, no, for me, yeah, outstanding. Premier League ready, Premier League class. Definite in starting 11 without a shadow of a doubt. But we'll worry about his best position. That's for another day. But yeah, he will be in that starting 11 for sure.
Straight in, very happy. We all are, as always. Jefferson Lerma. Steve, another player that I'm sure will be in that starting lineup if he's fit on day one, opening day of the season, Premier League. Almost player of the season for a quarter, if it was based over a quarter. That's Lewis Cook, age 25. I'm looking at some of these players as well, Steve, thinking, oh my God, they're still really young. I mean, we've had Lewis Cook now for like nearly 7 years, and he's only 25. Still got a good deal on him on this contract as well. But I think he's probably earned his spot on opening day.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. His performances at the back end of the season, and to come off the back of the injury like he did. I know, we had that conversation, and Aaron made a point of it, that where does he fit into the team? But he's found a home. He's recovered from that injury with what looks like a 100%, and he's back up to those sorts of levels that we saw when we first signed him in the Premier League. So yeah, it's an easy one. This one for me, he's straight in there, starting 11.
Of course he is. Lewis Cook never gives the ball away. Category A for starting 11. Right, let me go for this one. Interesting. Ben Pearson, age 27, has a deal until 2024, we believe. Only started 8 games, was man the match at Barnsley, I can recall. Look, I'm going to look at this one, Dale, and I'll get your thoughts as well, guys, on this one. I think he'll be part of this squad. Now, Scott Parker might not look at him and think that he's going to start every week. He might not start many games. I think Ben Pearson looks at this as maybe a last chance saloon, although not that old, that he'll get an opportunity to play in Premier League. I think if he's given the option to even be a bit part player this season, he'll want to be part of it. Aaron, quick thoughts on Ben Pearson. Do you think he'll be part of the squad?
Yeah, it was another one for me. I like Chris Mepham, I didn't really want to get, because it's a really tough one, and I love Ben Pearson, absolutely love him. And I think you make a good point there. Actually, I hadn't thought of it that way. That, how old did you say he was?
27.
27, yeah, exactly. So if he was to depart the club, which a lot of people might think he might, because he hasn't played a huge amount of games and he's clearly not first choice, he's not going to go to a Premier League club, is he? He's going to go to a Championship club. So I think you might be right. I think he might see this as his chance to, play some part in the Premier League, without a doubt. If Kilkenny's going out on loan, we know Lerma gets suspended. Lewis Cook can get injuries, and in those tough away games when you might want to play 2 holding midfielders, he does a great job, and I love him. So I think that's a really good way of looking at it. So as long as he's happy, which I think based on what you said, I think that could really be a carrot for him. Yeah, I think he'll be part of the squad. And I really hope he is as well.
Right, Steve, just try and imagine you're Ben Pearson right now. I'm Scott Parker, because I think Scott Parker will want to keep him as part of the squad. When we're doing this tier list, it doesn't look like we've got a big squad at the moment. So he's going to look at it and go, look, I'll happily have Ben Pearson. So, Steve, we're in my office. I'm Scott Parker, right? So, Ben, I don't see you as a starter week in, week out, although I think you can add value at some point in a tough Premier League season. Are you willing to stay? You're wanting to stay?
I think, like you just said, I didn't look at it like that. And I think you've convinced me, Mr. Parker, that I want to stay and I want to have a crack at the Premier League. Because I think you're right. I don't think he's not going to get Premier League football anywhere else.
No.
And we will need numbers during the season. There's no doubt of that. Jeff's going to get his token suspensions at some point. It's just a given, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it's a bucket. It's a tick box for his career, isn't it? He's going to play it, transfer
exactly.
and go to Old Town, yeah.
And like you say, he's 27. Probably won't get another chance. So why not? Squad player.
And also, another way I'd look at it is if we were to go back down again straight away, which let's face it, could easily happen. Lerma's going to go, and Lewis Cook, and I'd love Pearson in the Championship.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's another very good point. Good role play, Steve. Very, very good. Ben
Thanks,
Pearson.
Mate. I wasn't doing the beard though, was I? Really, very well.
No, I know. Who's next? I can't remember. Is it Aaron or Steve? Can't remember.
I think it's me after you, Kirk.
All right, straight in. Todd Cantwell. This shouldn't take too long. End of loan, May 22. Shame. Think it could have worked out. Think there's a player in there. We all know that. You've heard me say it enough times. Todd Cantwell, though, don't see it. Don't think he'll re-sign. Aaron, your thoughts?
Yeah, based on the reality of the situation and the here and now and everything that's happened, he's clearly going to depart the club. As you say, the thought of having, if you told us a few months ago we get promoted and Todd Cantwell, chance of signing Todd Cantwell, be like happy days, but it just doesn't. His face doesn't clearly fit with Scott in the right format. So, unless there's a massive surprise coming our way, I would imagine he's departing the club. Yeah,
departing the club, Todd Cantwell. So he is straight in there. Another interesting one, Steve. They're all interesting, of course, but that's Emi Marcondes. Has a good deal until 2024. Again, another player that will probably add value at some point. Don't see Emi going anywhere, do you?
No, it's kind of another Ben Pearson one, isn't it? Here, where he might see it as his only chance. I know he's very young, so there's potential he could sort of hang around and develop a bit more. But he's a squad player for me, and I think he's a big behind the scenes boy. He's great with the fans. He's obviously well loved. I mean, he has moments as well. It's not as though he can't back it up. Some of those performances he's put in. He scored a couple of goals. He's assisted a couple of times. So he's not wasted his opportunities when he's had them. Not fully. So, yeah, let's see what he can do in the Premier League. I'd keep him around. Squad player.
I think you make some interesting thoughts there as well about Emi Marcondes. He is like another cherry bear. He gets the crowd going, doesn't he? He gets everyone buzzed up. So, don't know if that's a good term to use and compare.
He's more than that.
He is more than that.
Yeah.
But what I mean is he's a cheerleader. I don't know if that's also a bad version of what I'm saying here. And it's getting worse. But anyway, we all know what I'm trying to say. He's loved by the fans. He gets the fans going, regardless of whether he starts or not. He's there. He's getting behind the team. Emi Marcondes in as a squad player. Next player is David Brooks. Not sure about this on the contract, by the way. This could be a bit, maybe. I mean, the information I've got is his contract ends this month in June. Aaron, I mean, I'm sure the club will probably want to keep David Brooks at the club, and look, he deserves another shot at the Premier League. And we hope he can get into a place where he can perform and do what he does best on the turf, shall we say?
Oh, that's hell of a doubt. I mean, thank God he's beaten his illness. And that aside, assuming, and I don't see any reason why not, he can build himself back up to fitness. You don't lose your ability. So in some respects, it's a starting 11 player for me if he gets back to what he was, without a shadow of a doubt. So we're 100% part of the squad. I guess it's just a case of we just don't know at what stage he's going to be back to that full pelt to be in a starting 11, because as we know, clearly he's got that ability. Probably the player and the most ability in the football club, I'd say, for sure. So put him in squad player for now, but without a doubt, some stages in the season he's going to be pushing that starting 11, hopefully.
And I'm sure David Brooks can get back to the David Brooks we know. Now he's beaten cancer and he's a warrior. So I'm sure he'll be part of that Bournemouth team. Moving along to Philip Billing. Didn't have a good time in the Premier League. Was generally asked to play in a midfield too. That's going to be different next season. We found a way to get performances out of him. I did tweet, Steve, that in the last 2 seasons he's improved since Jonathan Woodgate found a way of getting the best out of him. Scott Parker's built on that. 10 goals, 10 assists last season. Phil Billing will likely, in my opinion, to get a starting place initially, and then it's all over to him to see if he can cut the mustard in the Premier League this time round.
Yeah, I'd agree. And was one of those people that doubted him in the Premier League. Who for me, he was brought in to be a Premier League player, and I just didn't think he cut the mustard at the time. As it turned out, it was, in one of Jonathan Woodgate's master stroke that he decided to play him in a more advanced role, and then we started seeing the best of Phil. I think he thrives when he doesn't have that responsibility of doing too much defensive work, when he's allowed to roam around and put his attack. He's surprisingly, I think it's just his frame puts people into, he's languid and all the rest of it. But when he's doing something he enjoys doing, you can see it. He plays with more of a smile on his face. There's more tempo to his game. So I mean, currently you've got to give him a starting 11 place.
Philip Billing, top tier into starting 11, and we're looking like we're having a starting lineup for opening day. Make sure you get involved in the interactive chat. You can put your options in there. Simply put category A, B, C, D, E. Each time we talk about a player, at the bottom of the screen, there is a banner giving you some information on the player, and we'll obviously talk a little bit about those players. So get interactive if you can. If you're watching this video after it's aired, just let us know your thoughts in the comments. I will go with Junior Stanislas. 32, has a deal until 2023. Only 2 assists, but only started 2 games. That assist at QPR, massive goal from Dom Solanke. We know Junior Stanislas has got all the skills. We know he's got the talent. He's a good servant to the club. He's performed in the Premier League previously. Can he get fit? Can he be fit? I think Scott Parker thinks a lot of him. That's why I offered him a new deal. And I expect Junior Stanislas to be at the club next season and in the squad 100%. Junior Stanislas to be a squad player next season. Aaron, our Scottishman. We know he's better than Ryan Fraser. We've said it before. Ryan Christie. We hope he can score more goals in the Premier League, but a player that works hard, like Steve said in the previous video, has assists in him. And are you expecting him to work off the right initially when the season starts?
Not sure. Probably, I would say. I mean, again, player I got a lot of time for. Graphs like no other. Work rate is massive. You need someone like him in any team, and he'd always be in my starting 11. My only concern about him is his pace. But when we went up a few years ago, Matt Richie was pretty much the same. He played on that right hand side, didn't have blistering pace, but gave us so much in that Premier League. He has got ability. He's an international. He can assist, as you say. If he could just sort out shooting boots, he'd be an unbelievable player. But then he probably wouldn't be playing for us if he could. So yeah, I mean, but I wouldn't surprise me if we see him more centrally as well, because Scott seems to like to playing him there. But yeah, a massive player for us. As I said, the only concern is his lack of pace as a winger in the Premier League to take players on. But I would see him in the starting 11. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure which position, but definitely in starting 11.
Top tier for Ryan Christie. And we are very close to building at least a starting 11 and seeing what the rest of the squad will be made up of. We move on. Few more players to come, and a player that excites, a player that's worked his way through the Football League. He signed for Bournemouth because he wanted to play Premier League football. He will be playing Premier League football. In what capacity though, Steve? Sariki Dembele on a long-term deal.
Yeah, he's going to be an impact player for me, so he's a squad player. I don't think he's what you need to start games. I think he's what you need to bring on when you desperately need something. He has moments of magic. We all know that. We've seen it. But I think you made a good point previously, is that it doesn't look like he even knows what he's doing at times. And I think
when it comes off, it's brilliant though.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're up against Premier League standard defenders, it becomes that little bit more difficult. So I expect him to play a role, but it's a squad member's role for me.
Yeah.
Sariki Dembele could be an impact player for Bournemouth next season. That's what Steve Hensman says. I agree. In with a squad position in the tier list. Morgan Rogers, age 19, had a good season at Lincoln, got a deal to maybe play in the Championship for Bournemouth, didn't play many games, 1 goal at Luton, picked up his medal on the last day of the season versus Millwall. Expect him to go to Man City or back to Man City and potentially back out on loan, back into the Football League, maybe for League 2 or League 1. Don't expect him to be a Bournemouth player next season. Into depart club for Morgan Rogers. Right, where shall I go? Aaron, Jamal Low, another player that's worked himself through the Football League, always consistently scored as well, by the way, in any club he's ever been at. Impacted very well, scored some massive goals. Wanted to play Premier League football. What capacity again for Jamal Low, Aaron?
So he's got a contract for another season. Well, yeah, I mean, he's not going to be starting 11 for sure. I would imagine he'd be a squad player. I don't think we'll be looking to ship him out. I think he's got something to offer. It's going to be difficult for him in the Premier League. He obviously came on, made quite a lot of impact, scored quite a lot of goals for his game time in the Championship. But again, I'm not really sure where his best position is. But short of, unless we buy another kind of real like for like backup replacement for Dom, then I think that's probably where he's most likely to play, come on, as Steve said, with Dembele if we need him to come off the bench. So yeah, I think a squad player for Jamal, but I think we can probably do better. So it depends on the recruitment.
Okay, so squad player for Jamal Low. Jayden Anthony. So we put Jordan Zamora in starting 11, Steve. Jayden Anthony, this is a very key one because I do agree with some comments that we've made that some of these players deserve their opportunity. They proved themselves. Did Jayden Anthony do it every week? Maybe not, but his numbers are good for a breakthrough season. Massive though, Premier League, huge league. This is a key position though, Steve. Do you think he's going to be part of this squad or in the starting 11 as well?
Oh yeah, this is a really tricky one for me. I think 100% he deserves a shot at it. Whether he'll get that or not, because I think, like Aaron's just pointed out, I think probably in those sort of areas you want to be looking at a bit better quality, maybe, who's played a bit more Premiership ready, or Premier League ready, should I say. The one thing that always gets me is that he doesn't seem to perform well without Jay-Z. That's a bit of an issue for me, which I don't know why that is. I know they've got that relationship, but you should be able to play if you're good enough. You should be able to be good enough, whoever you play with. I really want to give him a starting position, but I just think that we could do better there slightly.
I think this is a position the club might look at to go for a mini big sign-in potentially. So you've got Ryan,
I think so as well.
Side, and if they're going to splash any cash, I think it might be in this position. Yeah,
I think you could be right both sides of both wings. Depends who I don't know who's out there. I haven't really looked at it yet, but yeah, I think there's potential better players out there. But I still think if we had this squad like it is, I think he deserves a crack at it just to see what he can bring.
Aaron, quickly come in there because. Look, we don't know what's going to happen in the summer. This video is not about transfers. It's about whether you think Jayden Anthony will be starting on opening day. And I think he could. And Steve said that to me off air as well. He said he could. But I think if that's a position that Bournemouth are going to look at, I think there might be a player that just sneaks behind him and then just see how Jayden gets on, maybe coming off the bench or even rotating with someone.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with anything either of you have said. But I do think it's going to be a bit harsh. I think squad player for me for Jayden. I think he could either start on the right sometimes. Christie plays different position or doesn't do the business. But I do think that we might need to step up in quality there. The rest of the starting 11 looks very familiar to me, but I do think that kind of left wing position, potentially, again, we don't know how Brooksy's going to come back. because firing David Brooks is clearly a better player than Jayden Anthony on his day. So, but yeah, for me, Jayden will be not just part of the squad, very much part of the squad, but not in the starting 11 for me.
And let's not forget, he's also played in the fullback position when he's been asked to. So very useful player.
Oh yeah.
Look, it could be a coin toss. I'm sure it's going to be controversial in the chat. I don't think it's wrong or right. Let's put him into the squad player. Let us know in the interactive chat what you think, because we got 2 players left. Coming to you then, Aaron. 4 goals, 4 games. What an impact. What a player. What a signing in the end by the club. And that's Kiefer Moore. And he signed for Bournemouth because he wanted a last chance saloon at the Premier League. It's paid off for him. I think he's recently got engaged as well. He's a happy man at the moment. Kiefer Moore, where's his spot in this team?
Love him. Squad player. He's not going to start games in the Premier League. I wouldn't have thought, unless there's injuries to certain people. But yeah, massive part of the squad. Clearly bringing him on if we need to, not even just if we're losing as an impact, but even if we're winning, maybe hold the ball up, whatever it might be. He's an international. He's a lot more mobile than people give him credit for. Big questions: can he make the step up to the Premier League? But undoubtedly part of the squad, and hopefully staying fit, and a lot to come from him.
Squad player for Kiefer Moore, and I'm sure he'll score goals. Different goals. Give us different options. Aerial goals, because we're going to need to find goals from every position, potentially in the final third. Right. Final position, Steve. I just had to look at my phone because I'm Scott Parker tonight, and I've just blocked Eddie Howe again because he's come in with another stupid offer for Dom Solanke, right? He's not even on the same level as me right now. Dom Solanke, I suppose a talking point is his contract. I think it's June 24. So maybe need to look at that. Look, I think the last 2 years he's benefited from. He's a different player. He's scoring goals. He's in confidence. I think the right thing for him is to stay at the club, and I'm sure he wants to. Let's see how he gets on. Maybe he's going to want to shoot for the stars and maybe go to a Europa League team in time, but I definitely see him as a Bournemouth player next season. And if he's fit, 46 games he played this season, I'd expect him to be in the starting 11.
Yeah, mate, fingers crossed. So, I mean, people are obviously interested. You're going to get sharks circling when you've got numbers like that he's produced this season. That's horrible. I've just called Eddie a shark there, isn't it?
I love the terminology though.
Yeah, but yeah, he's a shoo-in starter if he's still with the club. If we manage to retain him, and I'd like to think we could. And he's come on leaps and bounds, as we've said. It was interesting. I was listening to a guy from a Liverpool podcast, and he was saying, don't forget he's played Premier League before, and the only problem was that Liverpool, their trajectory was so quick that he couldn't keep up with it, sort of thing. He was at that stage where he wasn't developing as quickly as Liverpool were, which was a shame for him at the time. Yeah. But now he's had that, those few seasons under his belt, and he can probably, have another crack at it, and he deserves it. 100% starting 11.
Yeah.
Starting 11, Dom Solanke, and that has completed this tier list video. And now you can see it. We're going to summarize it in a minute, guys, but there's your top tier starting 11. There's your squad players we expect to depart, maybe end of loan, end of contract, some loan outs, and some future prospects. So let's get some summaries then, Aaron, because that means in theory, we've got 10 players out of 11 that we expect to be on that opening day. So let's just show a little graphic for you. So potentially in pre-season, we'll maybe look to do a deal to fill that left-hand side. That's where we've got to.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I remember when Eddie got promoted and he signed Josh King. We needed that bit of pace up front. And Gradle he signed, so I think it's really important that, we do cause teams problems. We don't become too predictable. Christie's a brilliant player. He'll be in my starting lineup, but he hasn't got the pace necessarily. So you definitely need someone on the left-hand side with obviously skill, but blistering pace as well to really cause a problem in behind, which I think is really important. But other than that, I think rest of them do deserve a crack. I'm not saying Jayden Anthony doesn't either, by the way. So, but having said that, they will, hopefully we'll bring some players in who keep this lot on their toes. And as I said, will be part of the squad. I think we put 19 players between starting 11 and squad. So, another 5-6 players. And I'd like to think they're 5-6 quality signings rather than just
Yeah.
players. Look, we got the likes of Pearson, Low, etc., and Marcondes, who we know can do a job, but there's no point bringing 5 players in of their ilk. We need 5 players who will really strengthen us. And actually, look, if we brought 5 quality signings in who go into that starting lineup, then I'm not going to complain if they're better than what we've got.
No. And to reiterate as well, Steve, we wouldn't be surprised if Jaden Anthony's in there. And there's a cause to have him in there because of that link up with Jay-Z, because they feel more comfortable like that. And Aaron's just highlighted that looks like a squad of about 19 before new players come in. And we know Scott Parker likes about an extra 10 on top of that.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'd love nothing more than Jaden Anthony to get in a starting spot with Jay-Z, and the pair of them, start ripping up the Premier League.
Yeah.
Just completely blow everyone out of the water like they did this season. And I'm sure all the fans would love to see that. It's just like Aaron said, Premier League is a different kettle of fish altogether. You do need a lot of pace, and that is a bit of a doubt with Jaden and with Ryan Christie as well. So, I mean, it's all if buts and maybes, but we'll see what business we do over the summer. But if it is like it is, then there's no reason why he shouldn't. There's no one in front of him, really. There's no one who's got a better shout. I don't think Sariki Dembele's got even more of a right to have that position than he has. No. So, yeah, sorry, what was your following question after that?
The following question was that it looks like it's going to be about a squad of 19, as Aaron pointed that correctly. Yeah. And Scott Parker normally likes about 28, 29 players.
Yeah, and I think we probably couldn't, but no, we couldn't. No, I know, but so at the beginning of the season, we had sort of 2 positions in every. Two people for every role. I don't know if we looked at that now, we could actually fill 2 positions in every role. I don't know if we've done that, but definitely not with the goalkeeper, and probably the centre backs as well. So there's going to be some business done, and but like Aaron said, that we need to bring in quality. We don't need to bring in players that we brought in, the same ilk that we brought in last season. They can do a job, but we need game changers. That's what we need. Yeah, we need something that's give us a different dimension in the Premier League.
Agree. Aaron, any concerns over a lot of contracts that are ending in June 2023?
Yeah, well, the likes of Jay-Z and Jaden Anthony for one. When's Dom's contract up? I know obviously there's a lot of talk of extending up. Yeah, so it's talk.
There's a lot in 2023, especially players like Chris Mepham that we spoke about. Right. If he wants to move on, what sort of money are you going to get for Chris Mepham? A lot of players on 2023.
Yeah. So look, if we want to keep them, we need to start talking about that now and extend it, because we don't want to start losing them for nothing at the end of the season, especially if we don't retain our status as well. But look, as I said, as Steve said, we probably need a couple of centre backs who are able to play in the Premier League on the basis of our decisions we've made. We certainly need another left back, and as another left winger, or right winger for that matter, another winger of some description who can play across the forward line. We're pretty well stacked in centre midfield, but it wouldn't surprise me again if we go for a Rothwell or a Lawrence or someone like that, an additional creative midfielder. So that's probably a 5 or 6 players that we're looking for, I'd say.
Yep. So what you're saying is more videos to come, Aaron. Don't worry, I'll work on it. We'll get that sorted once June kicks in. We'll talk about the new season and transfers. Thank you for everyone who's been able to join us live interactive and got involved. We may do some more of these, so make sure you take advantage of that. If you've watched this video back, thank you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button because that really helps, and subscribe because we might be Premier League. Well, we are Premier League, and we should be hopefully on 1,000 subscribers going into the Premier League. Also, thank you to our Cherries Red Army supporter members. Thank you for your monthly contributions and anyone who's donated, because that very much helps us grow and do these types of videos. Really enjoyed this one as always. Steve, thank you very much. Good input.
Always a pleasure, mate. Good to see you both.
Thank you. Aaron, as always, thank you very much.
Yeah, loved it as usual. Thanks a lot. Good to see you. Good to see you both.
Thank you to the fans for watching this video. Hit the notification bell so you know when a new video is coming out from me, Aaron and Steve on this video. We'll see you on the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.